How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we are getting back to the chapter breakdowns, the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth breakdowns, and we are on chapter 10. We are getting dangerously close to the juicy stuff now, and to be fair, this chapter's got a fair bit of juicy stuff in it, so I'm not too sure how long this video is going to go. Might end up being a long one. So, yeah, enjoy. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for future content, do all of the things, share the video, but it is time to jump into it. Now, in the previous chapter, we finished off the Gongaga region, we headed to the airstrip, we met Cid, we jumped in the tiny Bronco, and we flew ourselves over to the Cosmo Canyon region. And when we get to the Cosmo Canyon region, Red takes the lead and guides us in the direction of Cosmo Canyon. Now, as we're running through the area, we do stumble upon the first side quest, so, you know, we might as well do it now. So on the path, we stumble across a Chocobo ranch, and we go in, we meet the owner, Camaria, and we find out about Shani, who's her daughter, and she's a Chocobo jockey, but she's kind of out of commission at the minute because during the last race that she was in, she took a fall off the Chocobo and ended up getting injured, and she's not been able to get back to it since then. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go around and goad her into getting back on the Chocobo. That's pretty much what we're going to do. Yuffie's going to do all the heavy lifting here. So we head out to the gliding range with Epona, which is the Chocobo for this region, and it's a glidey Chocobo. And this is one of the minigames that I've seen that's definitely annoyed a few people. It's not the easiest, but, you know, you can get the hang of it. You do the swooping and the gliding and the jump. You know, you do all the things. You do all the things. It's fine. But, yeah, this side quest, it's all about helping Shani kind of rediscover her bravery as far as getting back on the Chocobo and kind of getting over the trauma that she went through, because as we go through each stage of this gliding event, we get more details of what happened. And, you know, it doesn't sound fun. It doesn't sound fun. It sounds like she's had a bad time, but, you know, the only way to get over it is to saddle back up. And like I say, Yuffie, all the way through it, is the one that's pushing this, and she's like, oh fine, we'll give her Pony the exercise that she needs. And then we have a weird moment where she tells Cloud to translate the Chocobo's words to Shani. Anyway, it all works out beautifully. Shani gets back on the Chocobo, and yeah, fun little story about, like, overcoming adversity. On to Cosmo Canyon. So, we get to Cosmo Canyon, and Nanaki runs ahead, and I'm going to obviously hop between Red 13 and Nanaki now because my brain doesn't work properly, so I apologise in advance for that. But yeah, we get there, Nanaki runs up, gets greeted by the guard, drops the voice completely, and from this point on, I believe, doesn't do the old man voice again, which is a bit of a shock to everybody, especially Barrett. Barrett's like, yo, what's going on here? What was that all about? Very confusing, weird choice. Anyway, the guard stops us for a moment, like, let me just check that you're not these terrorists that have been blowing up mecha reactors, and we finally get to see the redesigned Wanted poster from Reeve, and we see Cait Sith being all proud of himself, all like, haha, we did that. So, yeah, we get through fine. The pictures that they've used are hilarious, I absolutely love it. I feel sorry for those people if they actually exist in the world. They're probably going to have a real bad day at some point soon. Real bad day. So we press on into Cosmo Canyon, and there's a lot of conversations going on around Cosmo Canyon in general. They're a weird mix of some pretty useful planetology-based stuff, which we could definitely infer things from, and sales pitches, for the most part. Like, hey, get some planet-infused toothbrushes from Cosmo Canyon, yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff. And it's a pretty interesting point. It kind of shows that even this side of the planet has been corrupted to a certain degree. And even with the noblest intentions, like things like capitalism and the need for money and the desire for money kind of take over. It's an interesting duality that Cosmo Canyon kind of has that I wasn't really expecting. But in general, it's the Cosmo Canyon that I was kind of expecting. Like I say, you got loads of planetology teachers and lecturers kind of dotted around the place, giving lectures, talking about how if we enrich our soul now, when it returns to the planet, it'll be enriching the planet, and therefore we're doing good work. We shouldn't use Mako, you know, these kind of things. We need to live in harmony with the planet, because we are a part of it, and it is a part of us. And these are all things that tie in generally back to the original message of Final Fantasy VII back in the day, or one of the original messages of Final Fantasy VII back in the day, which was all about eco-activism and the way that we are damaging our planet as well. Gaia is a mirror for our world and the way that we use fossil fuels and pump gases into the atmosphere. So it's good to see the story kind of taking a break from the whole Shinra Sephiroth thing and just kind of pointing that message back out to us. And yeah, Cosmo Canyon's great. But again, everywhere you go, oh, don't forget to buy a Blessing of the Planet. Get your Cosmo Canyon sock. So very much a mixed bag and very much giving me what I expected, but also not giving me what I expected. And Cosmo Canyon will do that a lot more, as you will see. Anyway, let's press on. We carry on ahead and we do catch up with Red, and he does do the old man voice again a little bit. He talks about how he was the Watcher of the Veil, or he was meant to become the Watcher of the Veil, but Shinra took him and he ended up in Hojo's lab, and that's where he's been all this time. He also thanks the party and alludes to the fact that he's going to stay at Cosmo Canyon now to kind of take up his mantle as Watcher of the Veil. And then Aerith says that, we're all going to miss you, and he reverts back to young Red 13 and starts talking like that, and Barrett pulls him on it, with Red pointing out that he did it so that he'd be treated as an equal and not a dog, essentially. But I don't think that would have happened. It's weird. It's just a weird choice. I can't get behind it. I'm being honest. I just cannot get behind this Red 13 choice. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're going to do what Barrett suggests, which is run ahead and learn the secrets of planetology. I think we should do that. I think that's a good idea. So, we keep going. We follow Red 13, Nanake, whatever. And Kate Sith wanders over to some stairs and just kind of shuts down for a little bit. So, wonder what Reeve's up to in this moment. Maybe Kate's batteries are running low, I don't know. There's something going on there. But we keep following after Red. As we go, we stumble across more conversations, more preachers, more people talking about how we need to become one with the planet and, embrace it because it's our mother. We all came from the planet. And the first time I heard that and I heard the word mother, I was a little bit, what, mother? But, that's just me being pre-trained by Genova. There's nothing to it. People do refer to Mother Earth and things like that, so I don't think there's anything like that. Although it's interesting how Genova's ended up with that title, and it's almost a suggestion that it's here to usurp that role from the planet and to wrest control of that mother role from the planet and become the planet itself. Which is pretty much Sephiroth's plan. Do you see what I mean? I'm going to ramble a lot in this video. I've got a script, but I'm just going off it. We just keep going off-piste. We just keep going off-piste and doing whatever, so I am sorry if this becomes a 50-minute video. Let's keep moving. Now, one of the most disappointing things in the whole game is the fact that I can't look through this telescope. Very upset about that. But we keep heading up and we eventually catch up with Red 13, Nanake, whatever, and Unky Boogie. Oh yeah, it's Unky Boogie time. Now, be prepared. Unky Boogie does not pan out how I expected Unky Boogie to pan out. I thought Unky Boogie would know shit. I thought he would be clued into what's going on, like, yo, some weird shit happened in the live stream a few days ago, do you know anything about that? I thought Unky Boogie was going to be down with it. But he's kind of not. He's kind of very resistant to it. And it makes sense, eventually. But as an initial reaction to him, I was kind of taken aback by how he was being and a bit like, ooh, what's going on here? It makes sense eventually and it comes together eventually. But in the early stages, Bugenhagen's very off with us. Very off with us. Anyway, we do introductions. I'm getting ahead of myself. We find out that Nanaki is like 40 odd years old, but in reality he's 16 years old. The same sort of stuff that we find out in the OG. And we find out about how he's disgusted in his father, his cowardly father. More on that later. And then Nanaki goes off to kind of greet everybody that he's not seen for a long time, while we head into the observatory with Boogie. Unky Boogie. Now before we head inside, there's an interesting conversation going on to the side, talking about how the things that we have to fear are nothing that comes from the planet. No monster, no man, we don't have to fear any of that. The thing that we have to fear is things that come from without the planet, things from outside. And they're talking about the Gi and Genova kind of in the same breath as each other here, whereas I feel like they're very different situations, but they've kind of combined the two into one thing, and I kind of get it. you know, both things did come from outside of the planet. We're getting ahead of ourselves with the gear. We'll dive into that properly later. But yeah, both of these things did come from outside of the planet, both Genova and the Gi. So I can see why they kind of cross them with each other. But yeah, very different circumstances, very different mindsets and methodologies and things like that. Very different. Anyway, once we head into the observatory, we can have a look around, we can check out some of the exhibits that are going on. We learn about how the materia that we see are like the crystallized essence of the planet and the memories of the planet and the knowledge of the planet. It's all encapsulated within these things. Just like earlier on when someone, as we were walking up, was talking about how the knowledge of the planet is within us, we just have to access it and unlock it and use it. It's a very interesting thing. Another one as well, when we get up to the top floor where the telescope is, they talk about how when you look at the stars, you're looking into the past, which is obviously because light takes time to travel. So when the light reaches us, that star may not even be there anymore. So you are looking into the past, and he makes the point that humans fixate on the past. We're kind of built to fixate on the past and on what used to be. And it's interesting given the story that we're kind of playing our way through at the minute. There's lots of little offhanded comments that could be interesting, could be nothing. Eventually though, after we've checked everything, we head back to like the middle floor and we go to the gramophone and we hear the cries of the planet, according to Bugenhagen. But Tifa points out that that isn't the cries of the planet, that's the cries of the weapon, and that we've seen the weapons at Gongaga and Corel. Bugenhagen just slaps that down, basically saying we should go and get ourselves checked for Mako poisoning. And this is what I mean about how Bugenhagen's very resistant to what we're saying at the start. And we find out why later on, but it's because he's an old man who's stuck in his ways, basically. He thinks he's seen everything at this point, and he's like, what, you've seen a weapon? What? Pfft, shut up. That's basically where he's at this point. And because of that, he suggests that we don't understand the basics of planetology, and invites us in to watch the presentation. And we get very much the same scene that we got in the OG, where Bugenhagen explains the life cycle of the planet and the way things work. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. It's everything and more as far as what I expected it to be. Do you know what I mean? It's beautiful. We go through everything. We talk about the cyclical nature of life. We learn about how when things die, the energy returns to the planet and the memories return to the planet. We learn all about that good stuff, that juicy stuff. And we learn all about how if that energy were to disappear or die, the planet would die. And once we get out of the presentation, the group are talking to Bugenhagen again, and Bugenhagen reiterates about how if we use the Mako energy that comes from the life stream to fuel humanity and to power humanity, then that energy can't return to the life stream, it just dissipates and goes away. And Tifa suggests something else. Tifa suggests, does it dissipate, or would it not just return to the life stream in a different form? And this is where we're getting into the concept of negative life stream, which is life stream that's been tainted by Genova. And therefore, while it is still life stream, and it can return to the life stream, it corrupts the life stream. And it's just another stage of Genova corrupting things that it comes into contact with. And it's cool that Tifa brings that up at this point. It's good to kind of get that established now, because we do see numerous examples of negative life stream when Sephiroth appears. We've seen it throughout the franchise, so it makes sense that it's been brought up. Anyway, Bugenhagen dismisses that and suggests that you just don't know shit. Sends us off to have another lecture. Basically saying, oh, you said something different to what I say. You clearly don't know. You should go learn. That's the energy that we're getting off Bugenhagen right now. And he's being completely dismissive of anything that doesn't kind of fit in with the mantra that they've got in Cosmo Canyon. We'll work on it, and he'll reach a point where he has no choice but to accept that something is going on and maybe we are right. But at this point, yeah, very resistant to it. And it was super off-putting to me when I first played, because I fully expected us to get to Cosmo Canyon and Bugenhagen was going to be like, yo, shit's going on, boys. And would have knowledge and information for us. But in the end, we're the ones that have brought knowledge and information to him. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed in that. But we continue. We can run around and chat to people a little bit, but eventually we end up at another meeting, which is kind of like it's almost like an Alcoholics Anonymous kind of thing or something like that, you know, where everyone sits around in a circle and shares their feelings and their experiences and things like that. And Tifa's the one that jumps into this and shares her experience of how she fell into the live stream at the reactor in Gongaga. Obviously everyone's like, what? Are you crazy? But Tifa shares everything and talks about how the memories came flooding back to her and how it was a warm, comforting place, but that there was conflict within it. And she goes on to talk about how we need to defend the planet and things like that, but that she doesn't really know how to do that. And that's the same for everyone in the party. Everyone's kind of just stumbling forwards one step at a time at this point. Except maybe Aerith, she's kind of got a feeling of what's going down. But in general, yeah, everyone's in the same boat. And the reaction after that is weird. She gets a bit of applause, but then she gets told, oh, well, you know, try again next time. Maybe you'll do a better job next time. In the sense that the guy's kind of dismissing what she said. And then he says, you need to keep questioning things, because if you stop questioning things, then you'll never get the answers. And I kind of just want to smash his face into his own words until he realises. I don't know, maybe I'm reading that bit wrong, but it did feel as though he was throwing a bit of shade at Tifa after what she said. Definitely felt like that. Nighttime falls and we head down to the big fire, the pyre that's been built, and we've got this big festival of lights thing that's kind of going on. It's the campfire scene from the OG, where everyone kind of sits around the campfire and kind of reasserts themselves and what they want to do and what their goals are. We can go and chat to everyone. We can go chat to Tifa, Barrett, Yuffie. The only one that we can't talk to is Kate. Tifa's a little bit shaken by the experience, you know, everyone's kind of shit on everything that she said. And Cloud reassures her, like, hey, you were the one that was in the right there, they're the one being dicks. So that was nice. Barrett, he's talking about how he's been getting some flack because he wants to save the planet, and they said that it was presumptuous of him to think that, and that the planet will decide its own fate. As rain cleanses the skies, so too does she cleanse herself of filth. Which is very interesting when you think about the weapons and the concept of them, that when the planet's in danger, it will summon weapons that will return everything to nothing and safeguard the planet. And the same with Omega and things like that. There are a lot of mechanisms within Final Fantasy VII that will achieve pretty much exactly that goal. So they are right in that sense, but we have proven in Remake that fate and destiny can be broken. So while there is a degree of truth in what the planetologists are saying, it's not a 100% enshrined in fact. Do you know what I mean? It's not guaranteed to be that way. We can change fate and destiny. We chat to Red, Nanake, and he talks about his father and how he hates his father and his father's a coward. More on that soon. And then we speak to Yuffie, who's got a very much once you're dead kind of belief about it. And that she's not seen any proof to suggest otherwise, so why would she think otherwise? And I get it. We then get the ceremony where Aerith lights the fire in the centre, and then she goes on to talk about the struggles that she's had in life growing up as the only remaining Cetra. She goes into detail and talks about the pain and the suffering and all of the stuff that she's gone through. She falters a little bit at a midway point, but Cloud reassures her from the crowd, and she carries on and she finishes talking about it. And she talks about being more hopeful, and that while the blood that she's got has been a curse, it's also been a blessing and brought the friends that she's got into her life. So she's seeing the positive side of things, she's trying to have a rosier outlook, and it's good. It's a good scene, it's a nice scene. Nothing particularly plot relevant going on other than Aerith's existence, but yeah, good scene. All of the lanterns float up into the sky, and it's a beautiful scene. It really is. It's a very cool scene. There's so many beautiful moments in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and this is probably one of the more beautiful ones. Anyway, the scene finishes up with Cloud and Aerith having a little moment, and then after that, Bugenhagen catches up with Red 13. And this is where things happen. So we follow Bugenhagen down to the big mechanical door that looks like it's straight out of a Fallout game. I don't know if that's meant to be a little homage or something, I don't know, but it looks like a vault door. Come on. It looks like a vault door. Anyway, Unky Boogie tells us that there's a trial to undertake, and that we should come along to make sure that Red's safe. So we go through the big vault door thing, we hit an elevator, and we descend, and we find the story about how both of his parents were Watchers of the Veil, but when the village was under attack, Red's mother stayed and fought bravely, while Red's father disappeared and wasn't anywhere to be seen and ran away, according to Red 13. So he views his mother as a mega hero, you know, she gave up her life trying to protect Cosmo Canyon, and he views his father, Seto, as a coward. And Bugenhagen's like, okay, cool, it's time we fix this, it's time we put this right. And if you've played the OG, you know what's coming. If you've played Rebirth, you know what's coming. But Bugenhagen says that someone has to come with Red for the trial. Cloud offers first, but Bugenhagen's like, no, there's no point if you come. So Barrett ends up getting selected, to which both of them are a little bit like, what, really? Me? Come on. No, let's not do that. But we get to it. And as we progress through this section of the game, Bugenhagen slowly tells the story of how the Gi attacked Cosmo Canyon and what actually went down. So you do lots of hopping and climbing and jumping, but eventually you'll open some seals to a big doorway. And Bugenhagen talks about how this cave was a boundary between the Veil and the world of the Gi, which immediately suggests, given things that we learn later on in the game, that there's something different about the Gi and something weird about where they came from, because the world that they came from is immediately suggestive of it being a completely different place. And as we learn over time, it is. And as we learn later on in the game, there are lots of worlds that exist within the planet. So, yeah, the Gi become instantly more interesting just with this line of dialogue from Bugenhagen. And he talks about how this area was vital to the plans of the Gi, and that they were trying to seize control of the cave, but there was one person, one watcher, who noticed what was happening and realised that there was a vulnerability here. And this one warrior, this one watcher of the Veil, came down here alone and saved the day. And we all know who that was. We all know that that's Seto. We all know that Red 13's about to have a crazy time when he learns the truth fully. But he doesn't name him yet. Bugenhagen doesn't say by name. Red kind of is like, how come there's a watcher that I've never heard of that single-handedly fought off the Gi? What's going on there? He's not very quick on the uptake. But we'll get him there. Another interesting thing we learn just as we get a little bit further in, we reach another set of sealed doorways, and Red 13 says that they're similar to the previous ones, but Bugenhagen points out that the previous seals that we broke were to keep the Gi in, whereas these areas, this was built to give a space where the Cetra could commune with the Gi and speak with the Gi. So clearly the relationship wasn't always entirely negative, or at the very least there was a period of diplomacy before what goes down between the Cetra and the Gi, and we'll get to that very soon. But yeah, it's interesting that this was built as an area for the two to commune with each other. Very interesting. But we're near the end now, we keep pressing forwards and we reach a fight against the Gin attack, which is a fight that'll be very familiar to people who've played the OG. And once you complete that fight, Red is very much asking, did he pass? What grade did I get? Did I do good? Did I do good? And Bugenhagen suggests that we go and ask someone a little bit more qualified, and this is where we get the scene with petrified Seto stood on top of like a pile of dead Gi or something to that effect. It definitely has that look about it. It definitely has the look of, yeah, there's lots of rocks there, but there's also lots of spears sticking out of it as well, which makes me think lots of dead Gi maybe in there. But yeah, it's Seto. Red learns the truth about everything, and sad scene. Sad scene. Bugenhagen gives his justification for not telling Red earlier. You know, his mother wanted that to be the case, wanted it to be kept a secret, so Red didn't get himself into danger trying to rescue Seto or anything daft like that. But Bugenhagen suggests that Red needs to go out and keep adventuring with his friends because he's now realised how closed off he was and how he was blinded to the possibilities that different things were true than what he believed. So we get a good scene between Bugenhagen and Red here. Everything kind of comes full circle. We get everything that we expected from the OG finally. We get nice Bugenhagen that we all love. We know the truth about Seto, everything like that. All good. Nothing bad could happen, nothing weird could happen, everything's going to be, oh wait, who's this guy? What's this guy doing? Oh, it's Gin Attack. Wait, didn't we just kill Gin Attack? Buckle up, peeps. Ginatak asks Seto for permission to do some stuff, and it makes me think that Seto is exerting some kind of power over this region, some kind of protective aura around this region, and Ginatak tells the party to follow him, and opens up a doorway that wasn't there previously, and I would assume is the thing that he was asking Seto for permission to open. And this is the gateway to the Geese world. Everyone's a bit 50-50 about it, and Barrett says that, you know, we'll help out Red for 2,000 gil. Keeping the joke going, I like it. But then Sephiroth appears in front of Cloud, and only Cloud sees this. This is one of the illusion Sephiroths that we see, the ones that are within Cloud's brain, essentially. And yeah, Sephiroth just throws him that cheeky little smile as if to say, with me, son, and walks into the cave, which prompts Cloud to say, you can have this one for free, Red, no 2,000 gil. It's a good discount, no one else would get it. So a lot of stuff's happened so far in this chapter, and we've not even touched the halfway point yet, I don't think, because a lot more stuff's about to happen. We decide to follow into the cave, obviously, because Cloud's seen Sephiroth and he's obviously going to follow. And there's a bit of a conversation about why are we even doing this. Yuffie's questioning the decision that we're making right now, because she wants to go and get some materia. You know, she just wants some materia. And this doesn't feel like the route to materia. And Barrett points out that this guy may seem like he's nice and polite, but be very careful, because, you know, probably isn't. And we end up coming out to a dock on a river that looks very live streamy. And I'm getting the River Styx vibes from this. Yeah, 100% River Styx vibes. If you don't know what the River Styx is, in Greek mythology, the River Styx is the boundary of Hades, the underworld, and the passageway to the underworld, or the abode of the dead, as it may be known. And where are we going right now? I know, I'm skipping ahead a little bit here, but we are going to the abode of the dead. The eternally dead, in this instance. So, yeah, pretty fun. Anyway, loose mention of materia, Yuffie's in the boat, everyone else follows in the boat, and we go on a little adventure. Now, Yuffie starts going on about materia, and this prompts Ginatak to tell everyone to be quiet, because anything that reaches the live stream will eventually reach the ears of the Cetra, and the Cetra are an intolerant people, and we don't want the Cetra learning that we've been talking about materia. A little bit of a precursor to what's coming, but it's very interesting to get a different perspective on the Cetra, and we'll get more of it later on, and we'll discuss it probably more in depth when we get to chapter 13 and we do the Temple of the Ancients. But yeah, things aren't as black and white as they may seem to be initially with the Cetra, I don't think, but at the same time I don't think they are bad. I don't know, we don't really have enough information on it. And that's something that Ginatak points out to Aerith when she takes umbrage a little bit at the Cetra being called intolerant. He points out that she doesn't know the past of the Cetra. And that's probably a good thing. That's what he suggests to Aerith. But then the screen fades to black, and we are back in the Beagle world. And this is a pretty fun one. We've got Zack and Biggs together now, and we're getting their death but not death stories. So Biggs is talking about how he's lay there on the ground and this is it, he's about to die. But then a strong wind picks up and we see the whispers swirling around him, and then poof, all the fire's gone, all the damage is gone, and Biggs has been transferred to this world. He said that he wakes up in the Leaf House, and when you look at the shots of this in the Leaf House, you can see that rainbow kind of effect on the left and right of the screen, suggestive of worlds and transference of worlds that we get later on in the game. So, yeah, pretty weird. Then we get Zack's side of events, where he's stood there, getting shot at by like 9 billion Shinra troopers, and he says that he's feeling every bullet, but then we see a bullet that's flying straight for him. It was going to be a kill shot. We see a little bit of that rainbow effect appear, and the wind starts blowing, and the bullet just veers off course a little bit and just grazes his cheek. And then from that point onwards, Zack survives. So we've seen the scenes that lead to both of their survivals, and it is constantly stated in like the Ultimanias and things like that, that Zack survived. And it's interesting that they make that statement that he survived, and they keep sticking with the term survive, rather than continues to exist in an alternate plane or is in purgatory or is dead and exists in the live stream. The fact that they state survived throws the validity of these worlds as being real. It throws it up into the air. It really does. It makes it extremely possible. And it's interesting that we see both times we see the changing of worlds and we see the Whispers involved. But at this point, the Whispers are still in control of the planet because they're still the grey kind of Whispers that we see in the remake rather than the new white Whispers and the new black Whispers that we have. They've not been split at this point. So why would they reach in and save either of these people? And you could argue that they are Fate's Whispers at that point. Does Aerith have some degree of control over this fate? Is it because we, the party, as the ones who changed fate, it rippled out from us and more importantly from Aerith, and therefore people that were important to her were brought into this world with a higher priority maybe? Or was this world itself shaped from Aerith's memories? It's a very interesting thing to think about, and it's definitely something we're going to break out into its own video multiple times, I'm sure, over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. It's still reasonably unanswered at this point. Anyway, we press on, we head outside, and we talk about Cloud a little bit and how the Mako poisoning's done a massive number on him. And Biggs talks about how he'll just kind of, he'll jump up and he'll act like it was nothing, he's a badass, he'll be fine. And Zack is very much like, wait, are we talking about the same person here? Are we talking about the same person here? And it shows this differentiation between the two of them, where Zack knows Cloud, the original Cloud, like base Cloud, yeah, we'll call him base Cloud, whereas Biggs knows powered up Cloud, experimented on Cloud, Zack influenced and Jenova influenced and Sephiroth influenced Cloud. And it's interesting that they've both been brought together into this world from separate time frames. There needs to be an explanation for that. I can't remember if we get anything that suggests an explanation in the game, but we'll keep going. We do get a bit of a conversation a little bit after this where they both talk about how their concept of time is gone. Like, they've got no concept of time. And maybe that is the explanation, that the world was created, but time wasn't really a consideration when this world was created. It was more about the connection that the people had to the party, and mainly Cloud and Aerith, it would seem. Which then brings into question time as a concept itself in the world of Final Fantasy VII. And is it a relative thing to the live stream? Is it something that doesn't really exist and it's all based on the perception of people? And the perception of people being what shapes these worlds, does time become inconsequential? I don't know. There's a lot of things to think about on this. Anyway, we reach a point where we find a flyer that's been put up, obviously by Biggs, to recruit people to join Avalanche. Because, you know, in this world, numbers have been decimated, let's put it that way. There's not much of Avalanche. I mean, there's Biggs. There's Biggs. So, yeah. Biggs is trying to get some friends. Zack points out that this is a ludicrous idea. Shinra are going to turn up and just kill everyone and catch everyone who turns up there. They're setting themselves up for a trap. This is foolish. Only an idiot would show up. Which is exactly what Biggs is hoping for, to be honest, because idiots are what they need. People willing to do anything and get involved and just do what needs to be done to save the day. That's the mindset Biggs is in. So we keep moving. We're going to head to the meeting spot, which is the spot where Cloud fights Rude in Final Fantasy VII, you know, the empty lot just off Petal Lane. And as we're getting over there, Zack and Biggs talk about their purpose in life and things like that and what it is they're meant to be doing. And we end up back on the conversation of merc work. And we learn about Cloud again. We talk a bit more about Cloud, and Zack questions when Biggs met Cloud. And Biggs is kind of like, it was just before the Reactor 1 bombing, so... And this is where they both realise that their internal clock's gone. Because he knows when it was, but he doesn't know how long ago that was. So he's got no concept of time anymore within this world, it would seem. And while we're walking around and looking about, we can see all of the shops are still there that we saw earlier on, giving away free items. We still see the Beagle everywhere prominently, so it is still the Beagle timeline. We've not made a transition to any of the other worlds that we see in the ending of the game. And eventually, we make our way to Petal Lane, and no one's there. Absolutely no one's there. Except for Kyrie. And Kyrie herself is quite interesting in this moment, I mean, not what she does. She's up to the usual shit. She basically shits all over the concept of Avalanche, and she's just there to see what kind of idiots would show up. But then we get a look behind some of the rubbish that's piled up in the centre of the area, and we see Kyrie's backpack and everything. So she's ready to join up, but the fact that no one else has turned up has just completely put her off, potentially. That's what it seems like it could be. But the interesting thing is that Kyrie is here, and active and up to stuff. We don't really see many people that are up to stuff, especially main characters, you know, important characters. The only other one we see is Johnny, and he just sprints past holding a different version of Stamp in the scene where Zack and Sephiroth encounter each other on the steps of the church. That's clearly in a different world. So in this world, the only person, I believe, other than Biggs, Elmira, and Marlene, who, like I say, all people that are heavily linked with Aerith, is Kyrie. And Kyrie is not really linked with Aerith in any way. And Kyrie is... yeah, this is weird. This is weird. I don't know why it's weird. It doesn't give me too much of a reason for it to be weird, but it feels weird. It feels like there's going to be something to this. In the same way that I think there's potentially going to be something to the whole deal with time not working and time feeling broken within these worlds. Like, I feel like that's something. I also feel that Kyrie is going to be something, but I don't know what. I'm not sure what. Any thoughts in the comments below as to what might be going on with Kyrie? It's just weird that Kyrie gets a bit of a moment in these scenes when the only people that are getting moments are people like Biggs, Zack, Elmira, Marlene, really important core characters to the main group. Kyrie isn't that. So why? And I get it, it could just be she's just been thrown into the scene because Midgar, Kyrie, done. But maybe there's something more to it. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking on this one. We'll keep moving, we'll keep moving. Zack talks about how we're not powerless and the future isn't set in stone, and everyone's being very defeatist about everything in this world. But people shouldn't be like that. We should be strong and keep going. Do you know what I mean? Usual Zack stuff. Usual hopes and dreams stuff from Zack. But it's needed. It's what's needed in this world because everybody is giving up. Everybody's given up. And he inspires Biggs. He inspires Biggs. And Biggs points out that the world is lucky to have Zack, and I think it genuinely is. Given things that happen later on in the game as well, I think it genuinely is. Because this world is slowly dying. Like, we can see that. We can see the flowers dying. We can see the people giving up. We can see everything that's going wrong with this world. So Zack's positivity is a good thing. Anyway, he returns home to Aerith and Elmira's, and he tells everyone that he's found Biggs and that he's going to pop by soon. And then he avoids the question about Barrett and Tifa because he obviously knows that Barrett and Tifa are dead at this point, but he's just not going to say anything. And Elmira reassures Marlene that we're all headed to the same place and that she'll see Barrett and Tifa again soon. Well, soon enough. And it feels, again, very defeatist about this world. And straight away it zooms out of the window, goes to the flower patch, and shows us that all the flowers are dead. All of them. All of the flowers are dead. And then it pans round to the sky, which is very bright white sky. Very live stream evoking sky. And we go in through the window, and we're in the room with Zack and Cloud and Aerith. And Zack says to Aerith, the wind, that was you, wasn't it? And yes and no. I don't think it was this Aerith, but I do think it was Aerith. I personally believe it's probably to do with Omni Aerith, as we're talking about her. And the scene ends and we cut back to the boat, and Aerith's got a hand just trailing along in the river, and she feels the memory, she feels what's going on. I don't think she gets the whole story, I don't think she sees the whole scene that we've just saw, but she gets a feeling that something's in the live stream. Zack is in the live stream, potentially. So, very interesting moment. Then we arrive on the island of the Gi, I think. Probably. We get there, we land the boat disappears, and we are left stranded on this island. And what we have to do is we have to keep heading through this area and listen to the statues of the Gi, because that's where the souls of the Gi are imprisoned. That's where the Gi exist, because they can't die. they can't return to the live stream because they are outsiders. They are not from the live stream, therefore cannot return to the live stream. And Barrett empathizes with them, saying, yeah, that must suck. That must really suck. You're dead, but you're not dead forever. That's gotta suck. And Ginatak implores us to listen to the statues, the effigies, as we go around, because it's the first time that their words are going to have been heard in a very long time. And we can see from this why Bugenhagen was quick to kind of shut down what Tifa said earlier when she was talking about how could the livestream return, but in a different form. Because their knowledge of it is that if livestream is changed and it isn't livestream anymore, it can't go back to it. And their only real experience of that is the Gi, because the Gi are not of the livestream and cannot return to it. So there's a bit of a leap being made there by Bugenhagen and the team, it would seem. Bit of a leap. But I can see why it was that way. Anyway, as we head up, we speak to various effigies, we listen to various effigies, and we learn about their desire for nothingness, how they wish to cease existing. They want that freedom of no longer existing. So they looked for a way to make that happen. And eventually they found a way to make that happen. And it was to take the purest of materia, and I don't know what that purest of materia is. It could be the white materia, but I think it's more likely to be the clear materia that we've seen quite a bit already in the game, that empty, hollow materia, because the Gi talk about pouring their malice, their spite, their anger, their hatred into the materia in order to turn it from this pure materia into the black materia. And I don't think that'd be something that you could do to the white materia, because you'd first have to counter all of the holy energy that's within the white materia and then fill it up with black materia energy, the meteor energy. This seems like something that would be done with the clear materia, and it confirms the belief that I have that when the Beagle world was created and the white materia was split, only one of them had the essence, because there'd only been the essence of one white materia there in the first place. So while it can create a duplicate of that materia, it can't be the true materia. And I think we see the same with the black materia. Remember when we find the black materia initially in the Temple of the Ancients, Aerith is like, that's a fake. And there is the conversation that she's just trying to throw Cloud off the scent a little bit and make him be normal, which is possible. But then when Sephiroth appears, he talks about how this is the key to the true counterpart hidden between the worlds. And this suggests to me that the Cetra had hidden the black materia between the worlds. And when they'd done it, it had created a new version of the black materia in the world with the essence, and the empty husk of the original black materia was left behind. But if you gain access to that, you'll be able to find the black materia. The other possibility is that when the Beagle world was created, the white materia and black materia both split. So there was a hollow white materia and a hollow black materia left in our world, and then there was the essences of these materias in the Beagle world, or in another world. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. Basic gist of it though, empty materias, filled up, this is what we get. And it's funny, because the moment we hear the words black materia pretty much, Cloud disappears into a little vision, where it's just him and Sephiroth stood there, with the words of the Gi repeating over and over again. Steeped in our one desire, purest of materia no more, with pain and spite made black. And Sephiroth just smiles at Cloud, and Cloud has another little Genova moment and then snaps out of it, and the first thing he says is, whatever that materia is, we can't let them have it. Not for any reason other than the fact that Sephiroth wants it, and Cloud is in that mindset again. So the good work that had been done in Gongaga after the events of the reactor to kind of snap Cloud out of it a little bit, that's all gone now. That is all gone now. We're back to Puppet Cloud in a lot of ways. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking about the purest of materia. Is it the clear materia, or is it the white materia, or is it maybe something else that we've not seen? Could it be a proto-materia? Let me know what you're thinking that purest of materia is. I think it's got to be the clear materia, but it doesn't have to be. It could be numerous things. So, yeah. Now, we end up having a little fight, and Geneattack says some interesting things afterwards. He says, with the passing of eons, the star we called home began to wane, until at last it was subsumed by your own. The earth shook, seas boiled, skies shattered, everything bad happened, people died, and the few Gi that survived came here. Now, subsumed is an interesting word, because the word subsumed suggests that Gaia, the planet, absorbed their planet, the Gi's planet. And I don't know what the deal is with that. I am unsure what the deal is with that. I'm not sure how that works. What I would guess is that something already bad happened to the Gi planet. Something already bad was going on to the Gi planet. Its life stream was already dying, something to that effect. Genova had been there, something happened. And that led to the planet's energy overtaking the Gi world's energy and absorbing it. But again, it's very weird. We've not really got anything that leans us in any kind of direction on this, because we've not got any examples of something like this happening in the world at all. Like, this is something new that we've not really seen in Final Fantasy VII. Like, we know about the cosmic life stream and things like that, so we can kind of piece a few things together. But how would Gaia subsume or absorb the Gi's world? And the only suggestion that I have got is that this in itself is another piece of evidence that leans to the fact that these worlds that exist within the life stream are real. Because there's no way Gaia, the planet, the physical entity, absorbed the physical entity, the Gi planet. That's impossible. Like, that doesn't happen. Unless the meteor was the Gi planet and Genova just hitched a ride. That's the only other thing that I can think of. So it's either our live stream snatched a world from the Gi world's live stream, but then where is the Gi's home world? Would it be Mars or Venus or something like that? Or would it be something from a different solar system? Because it has to be within our solar system in order for that to even be remotely possible, right? If it's outside of our solar system, then the chances of anything like that happening are... And I know I'm getting nerdy about this, and I know we're nearly on 50 minutes already. But, yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one, this. Like I say, the only other possibility is that Genova hit the Gi homeworld first, corrupted it to shit, and then used it as a vessel. Something that we've heard Sephiroth talk about, but used the Gi world as a vessel, or a chunk of it at least, to come to Gaia. Therefore, not only did she come here, but she brought the Gi with, and created the issue that was created between the Gi and the Cetra. And that'd explain why the Cetra are massively distrustful of the Gi, because if they came along with Genova, then why would they trust the Gi in any capacity? They wouldn't. I mean, the Gi are obviously a victim of this in a lot of ways, if that's the case. In fact, in every way, if that's the case. But you still wouldn't trust them if you were the Cetra. You put yourself in the Cetra shoes, you would not trust these people that came from another planet with the space alien that just tried to kill everybody. Oh, and now they're making a Black Materia? No, no, get rid of them. So I get the Cetra stance. Anyway, we need to get moving because this video's too big. We head up the stairs and we have the final conversation with Geneattack. Cloud's very much like, we'll play along, but they're not getting the materia before we get up there. That's the vibe. So we go up there, we have the conversation. We find out about how the Cetra took the Black Materia from the Gi once the Gi had created it before they could use it, and hid it away in a place of their worship. And Kate says straight on it like, a temple. A Cetran temple. And he's got an idea of where we can go. So, that's where we're heading. We're going to go and find the Cetran temple to try and find the Black Materia. Now, we have no intention of giving it to the Gi. No intention of giving it to the Gi, but the information is helpful. The fact that Rebirth ends the way it does with Cloud having the Black Materia in his possession makes me think that we've probably not seen the last of the Gi, because the Gi will probably know and will probably try and get to Cloud. That's my guess. That's my guess. But anyway, It's all very interesting stuff, and it's all new stuff as well. That's the most interesting thing about it, because it's all new stuff that's been added, but it works. Especially if the Gi are a victim of Genova from previously, but they don't mention Genova at any point. So, I don't know. Maybe it is that Gaia snatched a world from Venus or Mars's life stream or something like that. Or maybe the Gi were in the moon. I don't know. We need to learn more. We need more information about this stuff. We need more information about this stuff. Anyway, at the end of the scene, like I say, we're wrapping it up with Gene Attack. And the scene gets ended because the life stream begins to appear. And Gene Attack is very clear that we have been discovered by the Cetra. So he ends the conversation and teleports us back to right where we were, stood in front of Seto. As we're heading up the elevator, we talk a little bit about how we can't give the Gi the Black Materia, and Cloud's very much adamant that we can't give Sephiroth the Black Materia either, that we need to go and get it and protect it, so that Cloud can give Sephiroth the Black Materia. It's a fun little situation Cloud finds himself in, it really is. Anyway, we're nearing an hour now, so we're going to speedrun this shit. We get topside, we speak with Bugenhagen. He tells us about how there is a place of Cetra worship, but to call it a temple would be a bit silly because they don't really worship gods. But he does confirm that there is a location that we can head to. But then we get interrupted by one of the guards of Cosmo Canyon who tell us that a man in a black robe has arrived at the front entrance to Cosmo Canyon. Interesting. We zip over there, and the person just says one thing to us. Nibelheim. Literally just turned up just to give Cloud a little nudge in the right direction again. Get Cloud moving in the direction that Sephiroth wants him to move. And Kate Sith's very happy about this because Kate Sith was hoping to use a terminal in Cosmo Canyon, but Bugenhagen had turned it into a power generator. So Nibelheim is the next best place that will have a terminal. So everyone agrees and decides that we need to head to Nibelheim. But first, we do have a couple of side quests that we need to smash out real quick. The first one is probably the most interesting one, and it's for Bugenhagen, where we're going around and we're doing a survey of some Mako springs and checking out what's going on. And we get to most of them, and most of them are inactive, they've gone inert. But some of them are fluctuating wildly, and some of them are being surrounded by these strange whispers. Sephiroth's whispers. And it shows that Sephiroth is trying to have an influence and exert an influence on the live stream. And it's working. Granted, he's still in a losing position at the minute, you know, he's still much weaker than the live stream and the planet itself, but he's getting there. He's getting power, he's taking over sections of the live stream, it would seem. He's able to affect these mana springs that manifest themselves on the surface. Even being able to summon monsters and throw them at us, so yeah, there's a degree of power that Sephiroth's building up, and this is something that forces Bugenhagen to reevaluate things a little bit, and be a little bit less dismissive, again, of the things that Tifa and the group were saying earlier on in the game. But Bugenhagen concedes that there is an unprecedented level of change happening to the live stream at the moment, and that there is a malevolent power that is exerting its will upon the mana springs, the life springs, and clearly the live stream itself. So, yeah, Sephiroth and Genova are definitely having an impact. Anyway, that side quest done. The next side quest that we have involves chasing down some Gi spirits who are possessing enemies around the Veil. A bit of a weird moment. Everyone's like, oh my god, the Gi are in the Veil? What? But they're just kind of riled up by the recent events. And they end up being a source of information for Red about Seto. They think that Red is Seto initially, but eventually they're like, oh, Seto's son. Oh, okay, then ask me whatever questions you want. It's a weird mood shift, but we have just beat them up several times, so they probably realise that they're not going to beat us, so they might as well just answer the questions. I think that's what's going on here. But yeah, it's a good little moment for Red to get some information on Seto and himself and the Veil and everything like that. Next up, we have a side quest where we have to go and take some photos of celestial objects, so constellations, that sort of stuff. And obviously we're going to use this opportunity to take several pictures of Aerith doing derp face, because why wouldn't you? And we even get to take a selfie together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But eventually we take all of the photos, we finish up the quest, and we head back to Cosmo Canyon. I think this is just kind of meant to be a nice little bonding quest for Cloud and Aerith. That's pretty much what this quest feels like. Nothing more to it, really. Well, except for when we hand the quest in, one of the planetologists suggests that there are more comets in the sky than previously observed, and maybe that's a sign that the planet has grown more robust. I don't know if that's what that means. Like, if there's more comets in the sky, we could be in trouble. We could be in trouble. I mean, apparently they form into a fun pattern, but we don't get to see any information or details on that. Yeah, fun quest though. And after that, we head to the airstrip, we send up a smoke signal, and our dear friend Sid turns up. There is the proto-relic quest in this chapter, but I did consider adding the proto-relic stuff into this video because it does have a little bit of relevance as far as cleaning things up from Remake, but this video's huge. It's already going to take me forever to edit, so I'm going to leave that for the proto-relic video and not add it in. But yeah, it's a fun little bit of story context that we get as far as like what goes down in Midgar with Avalanche and stuff like that in Remake. It's a great quest, but we'll discuss it in the proto-relic video. I can't let this video go any longer. I need to keep it under an hour. I've got to keep it under an hour. Like, people won't watch it. Anyway, that's the end of the chapter, so big narrative incidents going on in this chapter. We have all the stuff that goes on in Cosmo Canyon in the OG pretty much happening exactly as it does in the OG, except with Bugenhagen being a little bit more spicy and Cosmo Canyon being a little bit more money hungry. But in general, the same things proceed and happen. Tifa's a little bit more vocal in Cosmo Canyon and talks about what she saw. I mean, obviously it makes sense that she's a bit more vocal. She just fell into the live stream. She's got shit to say. And it makes sense. But then the whole thing with the gi, that adds a new layer onto this story. And it doesn't only add a new layer onto the story of Cosmo Canyon, but it adds a new layer onto the overall story. And it suggests things about the way the world works and about the way not just our world works, Gaia, the planet Gaia, not worlds, but the planet Gaia, but how it interacts with other planets potentially. Like, how did the gi get here? Did they hitch a ride with Genova, or did Genova hitch a ride with them? Or did they come before Genova? I don't know. I don't know. It's stuff that we're going to get more information on when we get to chapter 13. I can't wait to get to chapter 13 and break it down again properly and go into everything. And hopefully we can combine the two and get some shiny information. Who knows? But we're keeping this under an hour. Drop a like on the video, please. Subscribe for more content. Share the video with people. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. But more importantly than all of that, have a great day.